What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef, and we are back. You already know what time it is. It is time for the YAK Pod episode number 56. Now, we got a list of things to get to, and you will see what I did there in a minute. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe. Hit that little button down there, smash that like button, turn on your notifications, do all that good sharing stuff, because, when you do that, it gets the algorithm on my side. And if you are enjoying this content, you want the algorithm on my side. Now let's go ahead and get right to it. Today we are talking about Joel Klatt's list of top 5 defenders. Now I find this interesting because Joel Klatt obviously calls college games and he sees these guys up close and personal. He has called their games, well, some of them at least. He has seen them playing on Saturdays. I am admittedly not the biggest college football guy. I gave up on college football quite some time ago. I guess when Michigan was bad, I don't know, but it just didn't come back for me. But with this podcast, obviously now I have to be getting back into it, have to be evaluating players and things of this nature. So I look for guys who are authorities on these types of things, and Joel Klatt is, I don't know if he's the foremost authority, but he is an authority and he has his own podcast. So I am not going to be suspenseful with his list. Starting from number 5, we have Terrion Arnold, Chop Robinson, Quinyon Mitchell, Jared Verse, and Dallas Turner. Now, Dallas Turner is not a surprise to be the number 1. It might be a surprise to some to find Chop Robinson in the top 5, because obviously there are varying opinions about Chop Robinson and his ability to be an impact player at the next level. So let's go ahead and get right to what we are talking about today. Now, Terrion Arnold, he had Terrion Arnold at number 5 because Terrion Arnold came in as a safety. He was recruited as a 5-star safety, and he did not get on the field as a freshman. But then when he redshirted, so the next year he was a freshman All-American, and then last year he had 5 interceptions. Obviously he's playing opposite Kool-Aid McKinstry. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a player that has been mocked to the Detroit Lions. If we stay at 29. And that's the situation. This is why we're talking about the top 5 defenders today, because staying at 29, you're probably not going to get any of them. Later on this week, we want to start looking at other teams' needs to see how likely it is, or it will be, for us to be able to trade up and get any of these players. Obviously, I have been on the Dallas Turner train, trade up for Dallas Turner. But then when I was looking through the draft order, I saw something that you might not like. It's an NFC North opponent, and they have 2 picks in the top 10. We're gonna hope and pray that they draft their quarterback and they decide to get that quarterback and offensive lineman. But one of their needs is edge. Now, can you upgrade an edge? Yes, you can. We hope they don't. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say the name. I'm just going to say, what I said, and I hope you guys can piece it together. I know you will be able to piece it together. It's not really that difficult. Anyway. All right. So Terrion Arnold was a freshman All-American. This year he was a first-team All-American. We know he's very versatile. He's super duper versatile. He was recruited as a safety, and then he played corner. And then if we draft him, we'll draft him as a corner. And we already know that he can play all different positions. He can play both safety positions. He can play the nickel. He can play the outside corner. He can do it all. We already know that. Now, when we look at him and Quinyon Mitchell, we obviously know the testing numbers. Quinyon Mitchell ran a 4.3340, which was the second fastest, only to Nate Wiggins, who I believe ran like a 4.28 or something like that. Terrion Arnold's not Terrion Arnold, but Quinyon Mitchell's struggles in where he will be drafted is due to his lack of talent faced. We'll just put it that way. He was in the MAC. If he is selected in the top 15, I believe he'll be the first player in the MAC, the first defensive MAC player to be selected that high since Khalil Mack. So the thing with Quinyon Mitchell is that when he went to the Senior Bowl, he balled out. And that was against competition from all over the college landscape. So you can't say, well, he just does well against MAC receivers. I heard he did pretty well against Roman Wilson, who we all know Roman Wilson went to the University of Michigan. Very speedy, very shifty, quick receiver. But Quinyon Mitchell is faster than him. He's bigger than him, and he is stronger than him. Apparently, Quinyon Mitchell at the combine put up 20 reps of 225, which is impressive. And Quinyon doesn't really look like the type of guy. When you look at his build, he doesn't look like he's pushing 225 20 times. But then if you look at him, he's very solidly built, very strong, well put together. Pause. All right. No Diddy, all that stuff. But so that's something. Like he's had his opportunity to show that he can do it against top tier competition, and he's showed himself pretty well. But the only thing is, between him and Terrion Arnold did it every single week in the SEC, and obviously some teams are going to look at that more favorably than they would at the MAC competition. Now, Chop Robinson, we know that Chop Robinson is an athletic freak. And he was the second fastest edge defender at the combine, running a 4.48 to Dallas Turner's 4.46. So basically 0.2 seconds. It's a step or half a step. It's not that big of a deal. But I guess in some situations, half a step can matter. There were a lot of times where we were half a step too slow. We did not get to the quarterback because we were half a step too slow. So just thinking about that, it is, I guess, a bigger deal than it could be thought. Now, the knock on Chop Robinson is that he did not have the production. He had 9 sacks over the past 2 years at Penn State. But one thing that Joel Klatt did point out, he said when he watched him in the Michigan game, in that first quarter, Michigan could not block him. They couldn't block him. He was getting to J.J. McCarthy regularly. Not really sacking too much, but all just disrupting his timing, making him make pretty poor decisions. And what they had to do eventually was put in 2 extra linemen and set up this gargantuan edge that Chop just wasn't going to get around. And then they just ran the ball 32 straight times on Penn State. If you can do that, that's great. How many teams in the NFL can do that? The Detroit Lions have the best rushing attack in the NFL. How many other teams are going to be able to do something like that? And the answer is really not very many. And then we look at the other people that we have on the line. We have Hutch on the other side. We have DJ Reader. We have Ali McNeil in the middle, and then put Chop Robinson out there. Now, is Chop Robinson just another James Houston? Possibly just another James Houston. And James Houston, as we have already said, has had the production. Whether it was in college, whether it's in the NFL, we know what James Houston, sorry. We know what James Houston is. We do not know what Chop Robinson is. We don't know what Chop Robinson will be. But we do have our own version. Quick, fast, super duper bend, abnormal bend, gets to the quarterback pretty much at will. I mean, 8 sacks in 7 games as a rookie. Tells you all that you need to know, and hopefully he can return to that form. But Chop Robinson is an athletic freak. He is pretty good against the run. And if he's not able to win, or not win, but if he's not able to finish, because he's able to win on pass rush reps, but just finishing, getting to the quarterback, getting him on the ground, if you're not able to do that, there's going to be a lot of opportunities where he's able to push the quarterback to Hutch, to McNeil, to Reader, or what have you. And it's going to solve having that kind of speed off of the edge. This is why I want Dallas Turner. Having that type of speed off the edge is going to help us solve our mobile quarterback problem. As you know, the Detroit Lions have not been good against mobile quarterbacks for a very, very long time. So Chop Robinson at 29, okay. I'm not a fan of trading up for Chop Robinson, but if we stayed at 29 and then we drafted him, would not have a problem with that. We already talked about Quinyon Mitchell, who was number 3 on the list. So Jared Verse is regarded by some as the best edge in the draft because he would be the most complete edge in the draft. Not because he is someone who is better than Dallas Turner per se, but he's someone that is more refined and can do more. He can play standing up. He can play with his hand in the dirt. It's just that his combine numbers were not as gaudy as the other two. But again, I've said before, combine numbers don't really matter. You have to put the tape on and see how they play on the field. Jared Verse is a beast. He started his college career at Albany, then went to Florida State. I believe he had 18 sacks over the last 2 seasons. So we already know that the production is there, which is the opposite of Chop Robinson. Jared Verse is someone that I've also said trade up for. I've never said trade up for Chop Robinson. I've only said trade up for Jared Verse and Dallas Turner. If you could get either one of those guys, I'd be pretty happy about it. I think Dallas Turner may be out of our reach, but it just depends on how the draft falls, and that's what we're going to be doing later on this week when we're looking into that series of who needs what and what I think that means for the NFL draft and how the draft board will fall. And all of that, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes what happens in the draft, as we know, is runs. And they may have a run on a certain position. If they have a run on edges, we are screwed because we are not in the position to grab an edge, especially not in the top of the defenders. So let's hope that the position that there's a run on is quarterbacks and offensive linemen, and then we can trade up to 15, 14, jumping the Colts, and maybe grabbing one of these people that is on this list, because I think all of them would make our defense so much better. Obviously, I'm looking for edges first. I mean, Dallas Turner, we already know. Dallas Turner is 6'4". He ran a 4.4 640. I mean, that's just insane. It's crazy that he does that, and he also has the production. He gets in the backfield. He's good, stout against the run. He gets to the quarterback. He's very violent when he gets to the quarterback. He's very violent, a violent tackler, a violent hitter. Now, obviously, he played with Will Anderson last year, and the thing about why I believe that it would be possible for us to get Dallas Turner is that Dallas Turner is not as refined as Will Anderson was when he came out last year, and we know that Will Anderson was the defensive rookie of the year. So the hope is that other teams will look at other needs and find that they are more important than Dallas Turner, as Dallas Turner is a project. Even though he's not a project, he's just could use some developing, like every other rookie that comes into the NFL. Every other rookie that comes out of college could use development. No one is a perfect player at any position. So there's hope. There's hope that we can get to Dallas Turner. We will break it down a little bit more later on this week. And obviously, it's an exciting week. I will have a few guests on. So stay tuned for that. And yes, that is it for today. That is all the time we have for today. So if you did not subscribe on your way in, subscribe on your way out. If you did not smash that like button on the way in, smash the like button on your way out. If you did not share on your way in, share on the way out. And if you have done any of those things, I appreciate you. And I ask you to continue to do the same thing, as we are here Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. But when I have my guests, Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be here at 8 p.m. Eastern, streaming live, breaking some things down, talking about the draft. Obviously, we're going to have to get to those uniforms on Thursday because those are dropping this week. We'll have our instant reactions, what we think about them, why we think that way about them. Do we love them? Do we hate them? Are we in the middle? Are we in between? But that is all the time we have for today. As always, until next time, peace.